Hello, welcome back to Autism Advocating, where we have been sharing our story. I have shared last week with you, and you can check it out on the link above, how my son was diagnosed and kind of a little bit about our story. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about how we learned about autism. So we came from a family with no history of any diagnoses of anyone on the spectrum, so I had very little knowledge about autism. I have a sibling who is a third grade teacher, and I was able to gain some immediate knowledge from her. But when we were diagnosed, as I spoke in the last video, we were diagnosed through a developmental pediatrician, and the recommendation given to us was to go to Autism Speaks website and find all things autism there. We did follow that advice, and we downloaded the first 100 days, I believe it's called, which tells you about like all the basics that you would like to know about autism. However, we also found out within the first month that people have very strong opinions about different organizations out there supporting and advocating for children and families with autism. So my number one advice to you is form your own opinions. Find what works for you. Find the resources that you find helpful. While we downloaded that first 100 days of autism, I was able to learn about different therapies, different characteristics of children with autism. It really helped me learn a little bit more about my son, what we could possibly expect, some of the signs of autism that we hadn't recognized up until that point. And it just gave us some good general working knowledge to get us started. The second thing I'll say is because we all know early intervention is so important for kids with autism, really try to start Googling different autism support groups and different autism therapies. For us, we were recommended or referred to a place called Autism Matters, I believe was the name of it, and it was an ABA therapy that had a full day program. And where we're located here in Minnesota, I contacted them. They were willing to work with us, but it was over a year wait list for our son to get started in ABA therapy. And again, that was who we were referred to. So that was the first phone call that I make, was directly to them to find out what their services look like, what their wait list looked like, what the process looked like. The next step I took was to Google other opportunities for my son, because I wasn't willing to wait a year to get him started in treatment. So while I was doing that, I also simultaneously was referred to Children's of Minnesota and their speech and occupational therapy programs. So we started getting appointments for that as well immediately, to do outpatient therapy through them directly. And while I was waiting for those appointments to come up and Googling other therapies, I found a place called St. David's Center and here in Minnesota, and they happened to be having later that same week a parent session where they were bringing everyone in and just educating them about St. David's Center and their Autism Day Treatment Program. So immediately I signed up and contacted my mother, said, can you come? Can you watch our little man for us so we can check this place out? We really think it might be a good fit for our son. And we went to that meeting, and it was amazing for us because we were 5 days into a diagnosis. We were unsure what we were doing, where we were going, and it was really helpful to just hear about their school. And they follow, I believe it's called the SCIRTS model, and it's play-based therapy. It was a half-day Autism Day Treatment Program that incorporated speech and occupational therapy within the day. And we thought, oh my gosh, how perfect. So their wait list was, we were told at the time, about 4 to 6 months, but they did have outpatient speech and occupational therapy. So I went home from that meeting, filled out the paperwork, and the meeting was on a Wednesday. I had the paperwork into them on Friday with everything that they needed, because we were so excited and we felt like it was just a perfect fit for our son. So I'm going to stress to you too, really get to know these places that you're checking out, and listen to your gut, because in my gut, I knew that that was a place for him. And just driving by a couple other places to check them out after being in the space where he would go with St. David's Center, I knew the space was what I was looking for. They had security and safety measures that really fit for me, sending a 3-year-old off for the very first time from me, because I had been a work-at-home mom up until that point, and so my son was only with myself or grandparents at that point. So we got ourselves on the wait list, and those were our first steps, was really just getting services set up. Some additional services I want to talk to you about, and some additional resources that I want to share with you in this video. The other services, physical therapy, same type of thing. You can get referrals for speech, occupational, and physical therapy right from your pediatrician or whoever does the diagnosing for your child. I have heard from different people in different states, there is a lot of different paths that you have to go down, but whoever helps you with the diagnosis can help you get started. But my one word of caution, and my biggest piece of advice, if you take anything from this conversation today, is do research on your own. We waited for 1.5 years thinking we had to have a case manager from the state assigned to us to help get grants and waivers to take advantage of these additional services that I'm about to talk to you about. And the truth of the matter was, we didn't need that referral. We didn't need to wait for them. We could have pursued that on our own. So we wasted 1.5 years paying out of pocket, pinching pennies to try and make sure that we had all the services that we could for my son. So I'll go into services in greater detail later on, but or in another video here, but I do want to recommend to you some that we found very helpful. And the biggest one is adaptive swimming. In Minnesota, we have a place called Boss Swim School. There's all kinds of different swim schools through the YMCA, variety of different places. We also checked into one-on-one swimming lessons through private parties. There is in Wisconsin, and I'm going to blank right on the specific name, check in the show notes, I'll have a link to it, Castaway Swim, ISR, and I apologize, I don't have their full name, but they're based out of Wisconsin, really fabulous company. If you follow me on Instagram, I follow them as well. I've reposted some of their stuff. They're working on what should be the biggest point for any autism families because of the statistics of drowning in kiddos with autism. Swimming lessons, hands down, the most important thing, and they teach survival, and they teach your children when they end up in the water how to survive. So the number one thing that these children need to learn how to do is float. And in the end of their sessions with Castaway, they will put them in the pool fully dressed with clothing and shoes on, and they need to be able to get to self-rescue. So if you're looking at additional services and what might be beneficial for your kiddo, highly recommend that. There's also things like riding therapy, adaptive gymnastics, all kinds of wonderful services out there. And I want to share with you the number one resource that I found, and it's called Autism Society of Minnesota, and I'm hopeful that all states have something similar. But they have these 2 wonderful brochures that were given to us from St. David's Center, and the one is a summer activities catalog for all things related to kids with autism, and all the different programs and days that different museums and that sort of things offer specialty services or special times for kids with autism to be able to access these facilities. The other is the Guide to Sensory Friendly Minnesota, and this is a wonderful resource as well. It talks about certifications and learning more information. It's a really good guide. So I highly recommend, again, Google is your friend, and check out the different resources available in your state. So I'm going to keep this video short because I know you autism parents have a lot going on. We don't have a lot of time to dedicate to watching videos like this, but I want to thank you for joining me today. Check back with me soon. Our next video will be talking about what we wish we knew in those first initial months of being diagnosed with autism, and what we can share with you to help you in your journey. And maybe you're newly diagnosed, maybe you're not, maybe you're just looking to find some additional tips and resources that someone else may have found. So that's what I'll be talking about in my next video. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you found this video helpful, please hit the subscribe button below. I'd love to have you. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I would love to connect with you as well. Thank you and have a wonderful day.